And a couple of housekeeping things with the Cincinnati Reds right now. God, that was a fucking terrible intro. Here we go. One, two, three. Couple of housekeeping things. The Cincinnati Reds actually announced on Friday that manager Brian Price will return in 2017. Plus, the entire coaching staff was offered contracts as well. Ian, I know you were a huge fan of that move. You wrote about it earlier in the year, how you thought the Reds should actually extend Brian Price. You got to be happy with that. What'd you think of the move, man?
Yeah, no doubt. The whole process of being in a rebuild, you have to be able to commit to a plan. And the reason I advocated for Brian Price to return to be extended as manager of this team is so there is a plan going forward. These players know, hey, this is the coach that I'm going to have next year. I need to know what I need to improve on. I'm going to build that relationship with this manager. You go back to the Dusty Baker years of the Reds, and we all had things we wanted to say about Dusty. Dusty was given a good team eventually. He suffered early on, but he was given a good team eventually, and there was that short window for success. And when the success didn't pan out after the three playoff appearances, they parted ways with Dusty and they promoted Brian Price. I liked that promotion. I liked that they went internal with it. And then Brian Price had to deal with a series of, seemed like Lemony Snicket's, a series of unfortunate events. He dealt with injury after injury that sidelined some of the big names on this Reds club. And then the trades started happening. The Reds couldn't afford some of these contracts after backing themselves into a corner with other contracts. And we lost guys like Cueto, Chapman, Frazier, Bruce. Brian Price lost these guys that Mike Leake, that's another name, Matt Latos, guys that were on those Dusty Baker's teams when they were succeeding. And that's what always infuriated me with fans. Like, yeah, there were times that it seemed like Brian Price was mismanaging the game with the pitchers he was bringing in. But when you look at that roster, we've said it time and time again, Jared, what do you do with that? As the season progressed, Brian Price got the most out of these guys, and you really started to see, a formation of positions and situations in the bullpen and how this rotation was going to develop moving forward. You saw the niches that these guys were falling into, and Brian Price was creating a blueprint and a plan for next season. So I'm happy to see that the organization is acknowledging that and are going to move forward with Brian Price as their manager into next season. The Reds played a hell of a lot better this second half than they did the first half, and it was all because Brian Price, he tried different combinations, different lineups, everything, and he's getting rewarded for it. I'm also ecstatic that the staff is they're trying to retain the entire staff. I feel like they got a good staff there in Cincinnati, and we saw glimpses of these young guys and what they can do. I'm glad to see Brian Price is going to get the chance to manage these young guys for 2017 and possibly beyond.
Yeah, we said from the get-go, our very first podcast was about the Reds and the start of baseball season. We said it was going to be a rebuilding year. They're doing exactly that. If you look at everyone in their minor leagues, they're rebuilding. Nick Senzel is dominating. You look at a rookie Davis, the guy you love, Ian. A lot of guys in the minor league, they got a lot of good arms. They got a lot of good bats. Those guys are playing really well. So the Reds are rebuilding to the minor league. They're doing it the right way. Exactly what you want from them. They've shown this year that they can play with teams. Here's the fact. The Cubs are built to win now. The Reds are built to win in the future, and that's patience. That's exactly what you got to remember, Cincinnati fans. And like you said, Ian, Dusty Baker, I don't think Dusty got the respect he deserved. That's weird, though. That's weird, though, Cincinnati fans getting upset with the guy who takes them to the playoffs, right? Andy Dalton. Yeah, so absolutely didn't get the respect he deserved. But the Reds are built to win in the future. They're doing it the right way. It just takes time. The Cubs are built to win now. So to compete with the Cubs, Cardinals, the Pirates, those teams are built to win now. We're doing it the right way. So I like the the retaining of Brian Price and the staff. Continuity. Give those guys another chance. They were doing a great job since the All-Star break. They've been phenomenal since the All-Star break. So I really like the re-signing of him, and hopefully he can get a fair chance to continue to build that team. So good job by the Reds. Another bit of housekeeping: the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, I don't know. Did we have a podcast the week after they won in Oklahoma?
We did not.
So by now, I'm sure you've heard Ohio State just throttled Oklahoma in Norman. Great game. The Buckeyes are currently sitting at number 2. They were idle last week, so currently sitting at number 2. Their next game is against Rutgers. Ohio State opens up as a 38-point favorite in that game. I would probably still take the Buckeyes and the points in that one. So, don't really got much else to say. I mean, they look good. They look good on defense. They look great against Oklahoma. Hopefully they can continue their great play. So, let's move on. Let's move on to our OSR mailbag segment. This is where we answer questions from you, the fans. So got a few questions here via our Facebook page. Start with the first one. Marcus Thompson wants to know, with the Ravens barely escaping their first 3 games with a win, how much longer do we think they continue to roll by the skin of their teeth? He's not impressed with their 3-0 start. Ian, what are your thoughts on the real Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens?
That hurts, bud.
I'm sorry. That was the shittiest thing I could ever say. They're not the real Cleveland Browns. Fuck them.
Fuck Art Modell. Yeah, I don't know. The Ravens are one of those teams that you never know how well that disguise is. Joe Flacco, the age-old question, is he elite? I like Flacco. I think he's a good quarterback. If they can stay healthy, they always seem to have a defense that can, even if their offense isn't producing, it seems like their defense can always carry them. They're not going to be a team that, just blows you away. They're going to be a team that continues to win close games. Like he said, they've been escaping by the skin of their teeth. I going into the season, I had the Ravens making the playoffs. I had them, the Steelers, and the Bengals all making the playoffs. So I think the Ravens are going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to continue this, undefeated streak, but I think they're a 9-7 team, a 10-6 team. But their defense carries them a lot, and they're able to slack on offense because their defense will pick them back up.
Here's the fact of the matter with the Ravens, Marcus. They are 3-0, but the opponents that they faced have a combined record of 1-8. So no, it's not going to continue. I'm not worried about the Ravens. I still think the Bengals are the best team in the AFC North. That's a good question, though. Moving on, next question from Jake Parrish. He says, what do you make of the Reds retaining Brian Price as manager? I love it. Ian loves it. So hopefully you love it as well, Jake. Got another question via our Facebook page from Travis Higgins. He wants to know, what do you guys think the main cause of the Bengals' lack of red zone touchdowns is? I said earlier, I think it's Tyler Eifert. They desperately need him in the red zone. You saw what he did last year in the red zone. He was so dominant. I think they desperately need that. I still think they're kind of getting used to Ken Zampese's offense as well. Ian, outsider looking in, any thoughts?
Completely agree with you on the Eifert analysis. You look at a team like New England right now. They're a team that's when they score their touchdowns, they're coming from further out of the red zone. They're not in the red zone scoring these touchdowns because they don't have Gronk. And, the game of football has evolved into when you get into the red zone, you need a top tight end to get you into the end zone. And I think without Tyler Eifert there, that's why they're struggling. I said it also about the Dolphins. It really has seemed like, every defense they played has risen up on third down, especially the Dolphins. The Dolphins were non-existent first and second down defense, and then third down, it looked like they were playing against the Pro Bowl team on third down. So once Eifert comes back, they have another big target. They're going to be fine in the red zone, but they're getting wins. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Got another question from Travis Higgins. Ian, Like I mentioned earlier, the Buckeyes have Rutgers on the schedule this week. Next week, they have Wisconsin. Big matchup with Wisconsin. Travis Higgins wants to know, do we think the Buckeyes have a letdown week this week? Maybe looking ahead at Wisconsin on the schedule. What do you think?
I would say define letdown. They're not going to lose. They may look a little sloppy because they're looking ahead, but they're not going to lose this game.
Also, they're probably not going to want to show a lot of their playbook. I know Wisconsin can probably go back and look at film, but I think, you got to have some special things in mind for a team like Wisconsin. I mean, they beat LSU. They beat Michigan State. So Wisconsin's a really good team. They're really playing good football right now. I think Ohio State will beat Rutgers. That's a big game with Wisconsin, though. So thank you guys for the questions this week. We really do appreciate it. We had a couple more questions, but we actually covered all those answers. We answered all those questions earlier in the podcast, so it'd be really redundant to go over them. But I appreciate everybody sending us in questions. Remember, you can send us questions to our email, ohiosportsradio@gmail.com, or by liking our page on Facebook, Ohio Sports Radio on Facebook. So you can always interact with us on there. And also Twitter, @Ohio Sports Radio on Twitter as well. So let's move on. The most electric part of the show, Ian, our NFL picks. Can you recap last week's picks and also what the current standings are?
I will, Jared. Week 2. I'm sorry. Week 2, yeah. Jared 8-8. Alex 8-8. Ian 8-8. Week 2 was a very bland week. We all tied. Week 3, Jared, you were 8-8. Alex won the week 11-5. I had another 6-10 week. So we currently sit at, you and Alex are 28-20 for the season. I am staring at an 8-game deficit. I am 20-28.
Still time to make it up. It's early. Still time for me to my huge football brain to move me into the sole position of first place. But do we have Alex's picks this week? I don't think we have, do we?
We do not. We'll get those sometime today or early tomorrow, and we will get them posted before the games begin on Sunday.
All right. Well, that makes things easy. We'll just do mine and your picks right now on the podcast. But this is our NFL picks of the week. Hold on, my phone is active.
Not again.
This is really weird. This is weird.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, ESPN. I don't know. All right, let's move on. NFL picks of the week. Game 1 on the card, 9:30 a.m. This is the London game, the Indianapolis Colts versus the 0-3 Jacksonville Jaguars. Ian, who are you taking in this one?
The Jacksonville Jaguars will get their first win at their home away from home in London. I'm going with the Jags to be jagging off in Europe on Sunday.
You know I'm a fan of the Jags. I love the jag off. Blake Bortles, he's a great quarterback. He's my backup fantasy quarterback, but not so fast, and I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts in this one in the mouth breather, Andrew Luck. Moving on to the next game, we have the Tennessee Titans on the road taking on the 2-1 J.J. Wattless Houston Texans. Ian, who are you taking in this one?
Let me say before we get into this one, I hate J.J. Watt, but I'm still taking the Texans. I think they're better than the Titans with the game at Houston. I'm going with Houston.
Yep, I agree with you. The Titans are bad, and I think the Brockett ship will actually get it done, so I'm taking the Texans in this one. Next up on the card, Ian, your Cleveland Brownies on the road taking on the Washington Redskins. Who are you taking in this one?
You said it, Jared. This is a winnable game for my boys. I'm going with the Browns. Terrell Pryor and Cody Kessler get it done Sunday in our nation's capital and get their first win.
It's going to be a tough one. I like the Browns in this one, but I'm going to take the Redskins just to go different from you. Josh Norman's going to shut down whoever you guys have. So I'm going to take the Redskins, but I think the Browns can actually win this one. Next game, we have the Seattle Seahawks on the road taking on the New York Jets. Ian, who do you have in this one?
The Seahawks are hurting. They've got bitten by the injury bug several times. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not going to throw 6 interceptions again. I'm going to go with the Jets, Jets.
Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard. A lot of people forget that. Russell Wilson, the guy's indestructible. I'm taking the Seahawks in this one. Next game, we have Sexy Rexy and the Buffalo Bills on the road, taking on the undefeated Patriots in Foxborough in the Fortress. Ian, who are you taking in this one?
I'm going with the Fortress. Doesn't matter who plays quarterback. I could get the nod. The Patriots are going to win this one.
Rex Ryan is Bill Belichick's bitch. I'm taking the Patriots in this one big. Next game, we have Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers on the road taking on the Atlanta Falcons in the Dome. Ian, who you taking on this one?
Upset alert. I'm going the Atlanta Falcons this week.
Ooh, it's going to be a good one. I don't know. I like Cam Newton in this one. I'm taking the Panthers in Atlanta. Atlanta hasn't impressed me enough yet. Next game, we have the Oakland Raiders on the road taking on the undefeated Baltimore Ravens and Joe Flacco, who is not elite. Ian, who are you taking in this one?
I answered that question by saying the Ravens would eventually start losing games. I don't think it happens this week. I do like the Raiders, but I'm sticking with the Ravens at home against Oakland.
It's going to be a tough game. I'm taking Derek Carr and the Raiders. I hate the Ravens. Next game on the card, we have Matt Stafford and the 1-2 Detroit Lions on the road taking on the worst team in the NFL, the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. Ian, who are you taking in this one?
I'm going with Matt Stafford and the Lions. Bears are a mess.
Stafford's a lock to throw 3 touchdowns this week and 400 yards. I'm taking the Lions on the road. Next game, we have the Denver Broncos on the road taking on Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ian, who are you taking in this one?
Upset alert, famous Jameis and the Buccaneers get it done. The Broncos will suffer their first defeat.
Not so fast, my friend. The Buccaneers defense has not impressed me at all this year. I'm taking the Broncos and Von Miller in this one. Next game on the card, we have Jeff Fisher and the 500. Actually, they're 2-1. That's a win for Jeff Fisher so far. The Los Angeles Rams on the road taking on your Arizona Cardinals. Who are you taking in this one?
Well, you alluded to it just now and corrected yourself. After this week, Jeff Fisher is going to be back to 500. I'm going with my Cardinals.
Where he loves to be, right at 500 football. I'm taking the Cardinals big in this one. They had a bad game last week, and they're going to bounce back. Bruce Arians is a monster coach, so I'm taking the Cardinals in this one. Next game on the card, we have Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints on the road taking on Philip Rivers and the San Diego Chargers. Ian, who are you taking in this one?
Chargers have had glimpses of greatness this year. That's kind of bold saying greatness. That's the only word that can come to mind. New Orleans a mess right now. I'm taking the Chargers at home.
New Orleans Saints have not recovered still from Rob Ryan's shitty-ass defense. I'm taking the San Diego Chargers at home. Go Bolts. Next game on the card, we have the Dallas Cowboys on the road taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Ian, who do you have in this one?
49ers are one of those teams that's a mess. Cowboys got to travel, but I like the boys and Dak Prescott in this one.
Dak Prescott's playing out of his mind. Zeke Kelly's running behind the best line in football. I'm taking the Cowboys in this one. Chip Kelly's team just not impressive so far. Next game on the card, Sunday Night Football. We have the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Pittsburgh to take on Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ian, who do you have in this one?
Tough to win in Pittsburgh in prime time. I'm sticking with the Steelers.
Taking the Steelers in this one, too. They're a tough team. Hope they lose, though. Next up, last game on the card, Monday Night Football. The New York Football Giants on the road taking on Mike Zimmer and the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. Ian, who do you have in this one?
Mike Zimmer's got something special there in Minnesota. We didn't think it'd look like this with Teddy going down in the preseason. I'm going with Vikings to extend their undefeated streak to 4-0.
Zimmer knows defense. He may be the best defensive mind in the game. I'm taking the Vikings to go undefeated over the G-Men. So that's it. That's our NFL picks of the week. We'll get Alex's later in the week or whenever, before Sunday for sure. But that's our NFL picks. Let's go. Let's move on. This is how we end the show. Our bold prediction. Ian, what's your bold prediction for this upcoming week of sports?
My bold prediction for this week in sports: Josh Norman's not going to be able to contain Terrell Pryor. The Browns will use Pryor as quarterback, as rusher, as wide receiver. They might even put him in to kick a couple field goals because Cody Parkey sucked last week. Terrell Pryor will account for 300 total yards. That's bold. I'm going with it. Browns win big.
My bold prediction is Eli Manning throws at least 4 interceptions against Mike Zimmer's Minnesota Vikings offense. We will see plenty of Eli face on the camera on Monday Night Football, so prepare for it, folks. But that's it. That's our show. That's episode number 19 of the Ohio Sports Radio Show. The big 2-0s coming up next, Ian. Hope you're ready for that. If you guys have not already, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. Make sure you rate and leave a review as well. It really helps us out. If you're an Android user, you can check it out on Stitcher and Google Play Music. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Ohio Sports Radio on Twitter. Like our page on Facebook, Ohio Sports Radio on there. Like I said, you can always interact with us on there. If you're a writer and interested in writing about your favorite sports team, please contact us at ohiosportsradio@gmail.com. For Ian, I'm Jared. We will see you guys next week on the other side with episode number 20 of the Ohio Sports Radio Show. And even though they already won, who day, Ian? Who day?
We bark together.